Welcome to the Lyons Share. I'm Mark Elliott, joined by the founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Guess who? That's Mitch Lyons. Absolutely. Where are you on that road to retirement? Can I retire? When can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last as long as I need it to? Those are really big questions, and Mitch and the team at Mitch Lyons Wealth are here to help guide you. You can always find out more about Mitch on the website, MitchLyonsWealth.com. His book is there. There's a film there, The Retirement Deception. There's a lot of information for you on the website, MitchLyonsWealth.com. Mitch, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. Glad to be here as always, and it's great to hear your voice, and looking forward to the topics ahead.
You know, today we're going to talk about the pillars of retirement. You think of the White House, right? The pillars out front. If you knock the pillars down, the White House probably falls over. And we think of pillars as a classic feature of architecture. So we're going to talk about what kind of pillars are important for retirement. So, Mitch, if I said, okay, well, what are the 4 pillars of all retirement income plans, what would those be?
Yeah, really, it comes down to a few things, like you mentioned. The 4 pillars would be starting with preservation, right? You've worked your whole life to build wealth. You've accumulated every paycheck, dump it in your 401k, saving in your IRA. Well, you get to retirement, and it's not all about accumulation. It's more about preservation. Let's keep, old Will Rogers line. I'm not concerned with the return on my money. I'm concerned with the return of my money.
Right.
So we don't want to lose money in retirement due to circumstances out of our control. So preservation is number one. Then you need some growth potential, though, too, right? You hopefully you're going to have a 25, 30, 35-year retirement in some cases. You need to keep up with inflation. So having a portion of your portfolio that's going to grow is important. The third pillar being income. That's really the key to contentment in retirement, is knowing that your income's coming every month, that paycheck for life that you can count on. It's going to show up in your bank account every month and keep you peaceful and enjoying the ride through retirement. And then the fourth pillar being liquidity. You always want to have a little bit of cash so that when life happens, you're not raiding your retirement account. So that's important to make sure you're liquid and have access. So when the roof needs a repair or the car blows an engine, you've got those dollars and you don't have to start upsetting the apple cart in your retirement funds in order to pay those bills.
So what we're going to do in this show is we're going to break down those 4 pillars that Mitch just talked about: preservation/protection, growth, income, liquidity. What are the rules or roles of those when it comes to our retirement? And I guess when you think about preservation, growth, income, and liquidity, what happens if we don't really have all 4 of those? Because I don't think there's any, whether it's the bank or insurance world or the market world, none of them will give you all 4 of this. That's why it's kind of a blended retirement strategy, I would imagine.
No question. And hey, listen, what happens, right? If you pull a pillar out, if you get that beautiful county courthouse that so many towns have, right? And all of a sudden you start removing pillars, you're going to start, subjecting that building to the chance of collapse. And that's not something you want. And you certainly don't want a collapse in your retirement. So we want to make sure those pillars are strong, that you've got the proper tools in place in order to build those pillars and make sure that you're set for retirement and that you can enjoy it and not have to have calamity in retirement. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Preservation, growth, income, and liquidity. Mitch, they're not all headed in the same direction when you think about it, right? Offense, defense, special teams, they all have roles to play, and they're hopefully pulling in the same direction to get a team win, but they have different functions to create that opportunity for the team win. How can one plan address all of these different areas?
Well, that football analogy you just made is a great analogy, because when it comes to the NFL and trying to win games, you have a game plan, right? And there's different pieces to that game plan. Just like you said, there's defense, offense, special teams, running game, passing game. So you want to make sure they're working in conjunction with one another. And, a great percentage of Americans don't have a written financial plan. And what a written financial plan will do for you is give you confidence, honestly. When you see the plan and you have a path to where you want to go, it's kind of like taking a road trip, right? You want to make sure you've got your destination, how you're going to get there, mapped out so that there's no surprises along the way. And that's kind of the same thing we do with folks when we take them through our retirement of steel process. We're going to help them create a budget to figure out what they need to do to hit their retirement goals. We're going to uncover some of the main things that put your retirement at risk, such as inflation or stock market volatility, potential tax changes, right? That's always changing. Skyrocketing healthcare costs are another concern that we need to take into account. You want to learn about some of the options you have to generate income. And I mentioned that earlier that, hey, that's the key to contentment and retirement. So what is the most optimal way to create the retirement you need? And then, making sure we keep up with costs, right? They don't stay stagnant. Inflation's a real deal, and it raises its head every year. And we've got to keep up with inflation, especially if you're going to have a 20, 30-year retirement.
So I would imagine when you take those four, preservation, growth, income, and liquidity, that the plan probably starts with income, right? If we have our income month after month after month, we've really lowered our stress levels if we know that our income will be there for what we need is going to be there.
Oh, absolutely right. That's the linchpin to a retirement, right? You've got to have income. We need to find a way to take the assets you've accumulated over a 30 or 4 year working career, and now we need to transition them. We're done with the accumulation phase. Now we're into the decumulation phase. You're going to start pulling money out of your nest egg. And what is the most effective way, the optimal way to do that? And that's what we can bring clarity to. We take people through our process, and I think that's the biggest thing people get out of going through that process with us is they say, okay, it makes sense to me now. I see how we're going to create the income that, however many dollars a month you need between, Social Security or a pension, or maybe you've got some rental property income or a dividend portfolio or maybe an income annuity, how those all fit together in order to provide the income you need on a monthly basis.
What is the average? I don't know if the average is the right way to say it. It's sort of like my grandparents, when they retired in the 70s, Mitch, they had pensions, they had Social Security. Those are really their two main income flows during their retirement. I will have Social Security if I decide to start it in 2026, which I might, but I don't have a pension. I've got a 401k, and I can go to my 401k site and it'll say, well, I might get this. I could maybe get that if everything works out, right? But income stream for me is only Social Security. So then it means it comes from my savings. I have to create my own income streams. That's a huge difference in today's retirement, I would think. The people that have pensions, congratulations, but most of us don't have that.
Well, that's a fact, right? It's not our grandfather's retirement anymore. And that's something we have to account for, right? Most people their only source of consistent income is Social Security. So how do we take that nest egg, that whether it's savings or a 401k or an IRA, how do we take a portion of that and turn it into that pension, right? To create that same kind of steady flow that you're not dependent on the stock market. Hey, we want to have money in the stock market. Like I talked about, for inflation purposes, we want to have some growth potential. But more than anything, we want to have the money in our bank account each month that we need to keep the lights on, to buy some gifts for the grandkids. Lord knows my wife loves taking care of our grandkids, so I got to account for that. And on all those things you want to enjoy. Every day, Saturday in retirement, how are we going to create that? And there are tools out there that a lot of people aren't aware of, that you can create a pension-like income for yourself.
You mentioned that retirement of steel process that you walk people through. Could you maybe hit on that before we wrap this segment up and come back, talk more about these four pillars?
Yeah, really, the first step is about identifying where you are, right? So when people call in, our first step is having a brief conversation with them just to get a sense of where they are currently, right? And if we can help you, we're gonna tell you that. If we can't help you, we're gonna let you know that as well. But oftentimes we find through the course of a discussion, an initial discussion is, identifying where they are is important, because again, if you're trying to get to a destination, where are you now? That's the first thing we need to identify. So going through that, and then talking about goals. What do you want retirement to look like for you, right? Is it a lot of vacations? Is it just, more of a homebody and you want to spend time with the grandkids? What is going to be your lifestyle you want to have in retirement? And then having identified that, okay, now we kind of backfill and we say, okay, what do we need to do to get you to that place, right? If you need, $5,000 a month of income or $7,000 a month income, whatever that number is for you, we build a plan and show you how we can get there as optimally as possible. Let's tie up as little bit of your funds to create the income you need so that you can, relax, enjoy, and then still have dollars exposed to the stock market for your long-term growth.